So guys, your worst anxieties that impact the most on your life. So we have anxieties that kind of don't affect us, we just suffer from them and we don't necessarily tell anyone, and they're just our personal problems, but they don't impact on what we're doing, just our mental health, I guess. So what actually do you get anxious about that modifies your behaviour, not necessarily for your best welfare? I'll tell you mine. So, number one, I'm shy and always have been, and yet I now do jobs where I run businesses where it's my job to talk to an audience. That's what I do. And luckily, when I was 16, I went to work at a tropical fish shop, and tropical fish keeping was my passion. As a lad, I did a Saturday job, and it meant this shy but knowledgeable kid was brought out of his shell talking, because it was my job to advise and help customers about these amazing animals that I was passionate about. So I got that passion. I didn't have to sort of think about what I needed to know. I just had to look at people in the eye and talk and get out of that shy mode. I had to talk to people, and now as an adult, it's what I do for a living. But I'm inherently shy. So something that hasn't plagued me, but has really caused my daily life quite a bit of misery. My business, Raptor Exotics, where I go to schools with animals and teach kids about nature and nature-based topics, birds of prey, so on and so forth. Even if it's just a few kids, or performing on a mic, flying birds of prey to 1,000, 2,000 people in the audience, I've had moments where my shy anxiety has actually really eaten me up inside. And to be honest, I've had some serious panic attacks. So what's happened is, and the first time it started, it was my first year, I was presenting a bird of prey talk to a whole school assembly, and I had a panic attack. And I didn't forget what I was going to say. I know enough about birds of prey to talk forever, but I had a panic attack. And for what seemed like sort of half an hour, what seemed like 10 minutes, I just went blank. And all I could hear in my head was myself saying, Dave, stop panicking, Dave. Dave, you've gone blank. You've gone blank. Stop panicking. Speak. And it really shook me. I'm talking a knee wobbling moment where I just thought, I'm going to have to just dump and run. Just stop everything and get out of here. Never had one before. I've been very anxious and shy about starting my new job, my new business, but I never had a panic attack. And it was bad. And at the end, I actually said to the headmaster who was watching, he said, that was brilliant. Thanks ever so much for that. Kids loved it. And I said, I'm sorry about it being in the middle. I actually had a panic attack. Never had one before. And I'm sorry that there was that long pause. And he said, there was no pause. There was no pause. It was brilliant. No one else, whatever you went through, no one else noticed, I could assure you. And that was one little ray of sunshine that I held on to. So that sort of 10 minutes of time standing still, it wasn't 10 minutes. It was probably 10 seconds. And then I carried on. Now, the panic attack and the voice going, oh my God, in my head was still there. But the other bit of my brain had carried on after a very brief pause, talking about the animals until I got back into it. But it was so bad. This is how anxieties work. Self-fulfilling. Because then, the next time I did a talk, for the next 2 to 3 years, I was actually thinking, I hope I don't have this panic attack. And of course, if you think about it, it happens. Last year or the year before, I went back to school in September after the summer holidays. I've still been doing my job, but not every day, not in the same setting. I had a really bad spell. First day back at school I go to every year, teacher that I love immensely, she's a great lady, and she said, that was great, and I told her, she just put her arm around and said, I've had that before, but no one noticed, Dave. No one noticed, it's just in your head, no one noticed, and you have to keep hanging on to that. Don't run away from it. It's not as bad as you are suffering. So some of these anxieties, they really do play on our minds, and yet if we push through, they don't affect our work or our daily life. only to us. I can tell you now, and some of you have had panic attacks, I'm sure you'll agree, this is how easy it would have been for me. Do you know what? I'm just not going to do that today. I'm feeling anxious about it. I'm going to phone in sick. Now, when you're self-employed, you're phoning sick, your business vanishes fast. People want ultra reliability, and so they should. It's not an option if you want to keep a business going. And it's not an option anyway, because as soon as you phone in sick because you can't face the day, because of, in my case, having a panic attack and anxiety there, you're on a slippery slope. You are on a very slippery slope. So you've got to push on and just tell yourself, one way or another, I'm going to get through today. You have to be strong-minded, or these things just eat you alive. And I did, and I've had this multiple times, and I've always thought, oh no, I really don't want to go to work today. Like I'd probably been worried about it the night before even. And I forced myself to go. Most of the times, I don't have a panic attack. So the key to this one is being organised. Being organised, knowing your job. So that's actually not a problem. You know your job. You just got to face it. But being organised, being on time, getting up in good time, going through your happy routine. If you're like me, you like a mug of tea, have your mug of tea. But just be prompt to work, prompt to the situation, the public speaking, whatever it is that stops you, or that it isn't, well, whatever it is that's the root of this panic attack. But obviously it's not really the root of it, it's just the thought of it. It's just that situation has made you anxious. And then being anxious and panicking has actually fueled the thought of having it all again. Horrible. But the key is be organised, be on time, face it head on. Yeah, you are. It's no good me saying just put it out of your mind. Yeah, actually, try and put it out of your mind, because I do that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be there. Face it head on, and every time you face it head on and never give in, afterwards say, yeah, I did it. I've not had one now since that year. So I'm going to say a good year I've not actually had that real. I always get stage fright, always get butterflies in my tummy. That's normal. That makes you do a good job, makes you concentrate and sharpens you up. But I've not had that anxious panic attack moment now for well over a year, thank goodness. My next thing, by the way, comment below, what is your life-limiting or life-changing anxiety? What is the problem that you end up modifying your life, kind of because you can't completely fix the problem in your head, if that makes sense? Comment below. If you have a problem and you do fix it, comment below for sure. Help everyone. Give us all an idea. Here's my next one. I'd like to say, because I'm an old man now, I often need a wee more than I did when I was younger. I can tell you that's not the case. This problem, and I think it is physical and mental, started when I was a teenager. I must have a bladder the size of a grape, honestly. Maybe too much information, but yeah, in the interest of sharing and helping, I need a wee more than anyone else. If we go out for a meal and there's a table of people, seriously, I'll have 5 wees during the evening, and I can bet you pretty much no one else on the table for the whole evening will go to the loo. How can that be possible? How can that be possible? So I know I flunked at least one exam. I think it was maths in upper school, because I didn't want the embarrassment of putting my hand up and saying, "Miss, can I go to the toilet?" No one else did. But I couldn't concentrate on the exam because it became all-encompassing in not weeing my pants. Just holding this bursting wee that was crippling me. Just couldn't concentrate, flunked the exam. So it goes back a long way. My friends and my wife said, "Can we go and see a concert?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to drink a couple of lagers, watching music, unless I can access some loos pretty sharpish." So this is really life limiting. It's my worst one, because it is everywhere I go, whatever I do. I always start the day with a mug of tea. That's my breakfast. But then pre-COVID, I was doing an awful lot of work in London. I was going to a lot of London schools. My post-COVID, how can I change my life, was not getting up at 4 a.m. to drive into London before the traffic got so bad you couldn't get there. This is the difference. I'm driving to work now. look around, lovely countryside. At any moment, I can pull in and nip behind a hedge, have a wee. Anxiety's not there. I don't even need a wee. Going into London proper, firstly, it's terrifying for me because I'm a bit of a country bumpkin. Secondly, there's nowhere to have a wee. It is, you can't get out your car, there's nowhere to park. Just the worst thing ever for me. And my wife's from there, said, Dave, you're going to have to stop drinking tea in the morning. I said, I'm not starting the day, not a chance, without my mug of tea. In the end, I had to. So if you drink that tea, it's got a caffeine in it, it's a bladder irritant, you just drink water, it's completely different. So what you drink does affect that feeling for me, for sure. But yeah, maybe too much information, but that is the biggest life-limiting thing for me. It literally makes me think about where I'm going, what I'm really well going to drink before I leave home, and it's not being an old man. I've had all the checks. My doctor's got a big thumb. Oh gosh. But anyway, just some little input. What do I do about it? How do I solve the problem? I do plan ahead, and I do watch what I drink. Going to the airport on holiday, there's that bit where, again, you go past the last services and you're not going to be able to go to the loo between there, parking your car, walking your case into the airport. There's a massive lag and there's nowhere to have a wee. That just, and do you know what? It is, so much of it is in your head, and that's the problem with these anxieties. They really are mostly in your head, but coming out as a physical kind of form. Anyway, a bit more of a light-hearted one. Let me know what you have as a problem, if any, but really, how do you plan around it? How do you solve them?